Greetings, listeners. Welcome to Consulting Between Friends. I am your host, Michael Holmes Jr. Everyone is faced with different obstacles and situations in life. Some may have family or friends to turn to when they need help. Others may have to deal with it alone. As you grow up, you might make friends that can make life more enjoyable. This is especially important for young men. This is how they learn how to function in life around other people. From having conversations to the way they dress. Your friends become an influence on you. Sometimes it can be good, and other times it can be bad. One part we are going to focus on is young black men who get labeled negatively before they have a chance to show who they are. When young black men are growing up, they are made to be a problem. They cannot be trusted and don't need to be respected. There is a book that is trying to stop this way of thinking. The name of the book is Voices of Black Men, a collection of stories, untold, raw, and unfiltered. In this book, seven black men will discuss their very own story and mention how they grew up to become the men they are today. For this book, I will be interviewing one of these men, and his name is Glenn Tillman Jr. He will discuss his success on how he has accomplished all of it with a disability. The topic is how bad labels can ruin one's character. We will return after a message from our sponsor. Everyone is always planning things, and advertising is needed to make it happen. So, if it's personal or business, let Pinpoint Designs and Images solve that problem. With Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC, you will receive quality work and professional service at a great price. The service that is offered: flyers, business cards, programs, invitations, photo books, ad booklets, and much more. Michael Holmes Jr., owner/principal designer of Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC, contact me by email or social media. Email address is pinpointdesignsandImages@gmail.com, and Instagram Pinpoint Designs, and Facebook Pinpoint Designs and Images. We are back. Before the interview begins, I want to give you a background on Glenn Tillman Jr. I met Glenn in an organization while in college. Glenn was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and came from a loving family who supported him through life challenges. One of his challenges was having a disability as a child. He was diagnosed with a hearing disability. Glenn has a positive attitude and motivation to accomplish anything in life. He graduated from college at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana, with a Bachelor's of Arts in broadcast journalism. His education in journalism gave him the knowledge to communicate in a variety of ways in many situations. Later, Glenn received a master's in business administration dash management from Western International University. He also has a special education EC 12 certification. Right now, he is in the middle of working on his doctorate degree in executive leadership in special education. Glenn has been a teacher for 5 years and loves teaching the next generation. He currently teaches at C.E. King High School in Houston, Texas. He enjoys being a high school coach for the girls' basketball team. The subjects that Glenn teaches are Algebra 1, 2, and 3, as well geometry. Glenn has received numerous awards and achievements as a teacher. Teacher of the Year in 2018 through 2019. HAABSE Campus Representative, and many others. Glenn has also become an author, and he has wrote a story about his life challenges while growing up. The name of the book is Voices of Black Men, a collection of stories, untold, raw, and unfiltered. The book has 7 black men that discuss their stories while growing up. Their names are Sean Bernard, William Q. Oliver, Barack Sampson, Eric Sweet, Kervin Tillis, Glenn Tillman Jr., and Dr. Maurice Williams Jr. Each of these men have powerful stories that are very relatable. Chapter 5 of the book, which is titled I Am Not a Label, is about Glenn. Glenn will now discuss how he has overcome challenges in life and what he has learned from it. My guest today is Glenn Tillman Jr. Now, welcome him to Consulting Between Friends.
How you doing, my man? Good to see you.
I'm doing fine today. How was your day?
Very good, man. Good. It's always a good day when you can be able to see the sun and autograph a book today, hang out with a friend I ain't seen in a couple of years. So be thankful to be above ground.
That's a good way to say, and I like what you just said as well. Okay, well, we're about to start this interview. The first thing what I would like you to do is explain your background, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir. Michael, so I am a special education teacher right now in Sheldon ISD, and the beautiful Houston, Texas, where we have been going a long periods without rain. So, and I'm out here giving services to kids. I teach with love and kindness, and definitely with real world applications in my teaching. But then start there. I can't be. I actually grew up as a black kid in New Orleans East, and labeled as a special education kid with a hearing disability, not a learning disability, with a hearing disability. And I was told that, hey, this is about as just as much that you can achieve in life, and you should be happy with it.
Yes, indeed. I know exactly how you feel about that. Well, I like how you just explain yourself to start off with. Now, can you explain about the book Voices of Black Men?
Yeah, Michael. So about the book, man, the book is basically a tale of not even it's just a real life uncut, not even uncut, unscripted story, basically of seven black men going through these obstacles in life, and they're telling their own story on how they overcame those obstacles in life. This is not about the obstacles themselves. It is about how they use this, had the perseverance to move forward. And many of these guys, some of these guys, all of us do not know each other. We could range from a guy from Milwaukee. We got a guy like me from New Orleans. We got a guy that's from Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, all across this country, talking about their own little story. One guy from Lafayette, Louisiana, telling their story, and we all going through different things. And we talk about how those things that we thought was right, or we thought was cool, or we thought was okay, we later learned that it was not okay, and we overcame it and did better. So this is not about what went through, but it's about us overcoming.
Okay, so I understand how you said that. So basically, the Voices of Black Men book that you are in, your story, basically, it has seven guys in here and it explains their story, correct?
Correct, correct. Seven guys telling their story, explaining what they went through, how I went through. My chapter is chapter 5. It is called "I Am Not a Label," and many times in this particular realm, as special education student, and you know this by being in your background,
Yes.
Michael,
Hmm.
that when you're labeled, when you're in a special education setting, what have you, they, you get put, if based on your disability, people put
Hmm.
you in a realm of, hey, he's a life skill student. Oh, okay. He's going to live with his parents for the rest of his life. Oh, he got an emotional disturbance disability. Okay. All right. Unless he gets that checked out, he's probably going to be living with his mom, and he's going to be in jail. He got a learning disability. Oh yeah, he definitely going to have some issues. What have you? May not even finish college. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. Oh, he's an athlete and got to learn disability. Okay, he's probably gonna get through college, and then that's gonna be it. So yeah, people put you these labels, and I'm here to tell people, hey, just because you get some labels and put it on you, don't mean that defines who you are. And I
Hmm.
talk a lot about talk in general about how the label was put on me, but until my mind got out of thinking that this is not this cageman like mentality of thinking, hey, my life is bigger than what somebody else tells me.
Hmm.
And I went through a particular obstacle in the book, and I talk about how, like, you know, you go from thinking about other people and thinking about how they want you to live or how they want you to do things, or how you want to do things for others. And until you get the mindset of your life and being able to focus on your goals and your aspirations, then you're going to continue to stay in that bubble.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Because also, I was a special ed kid growing up as well. I mean, I was told as well that you won't be able to go to college, you won't have a job, you won't do a lot of achievements. And I went to college. I may not graduate, but I have learned a lot. I have taught myself graphic design, and now I'm doing this podcast. So just like you have achieved a lot of things as well, and you a special kid as well. You can do a lot of stuff, but some people do stigmatize you and give you that label.
Yep, yep. They give you the label, but hey, we're more than just a label. Like obviously I'm a special education teacher, so I write these IEPs and I write these art. And one thing I've always tell my students that I work with is that even though we have this big set of sheet of these 20 or 30 sheets of paper that tells you to find you to tell me how you are and how to work with you and how you need to assist you and help you. You're not just that. I want to know who you are as a person. I want you to tell me who you are. I'm gonna
Mhm.
use this to help me be able to assist you and get the proper accommodations and the proper things to help and make you your help in the classroom and do well. But I'm not gonna sit here and say this is you.
Mhm.
How would you feel if somebody told you that 32 pages that define 100% who you are? You're not a robot. I mean, come on now. That's more than life than Michael Holmes and Glenn Tillman in 32 pages. Yeah.
That's true. That's totally true. I totally agree. Well, we're about to go on with the questions. What was your main reason to explain your story to people?
Yes, Michael. The main reason was, and let me first of all say there was hesitation on me explaining my story. Oh, how will people feel? How are my parents gonna feel like I'm airing out laundry about how my life was? Or why do I feel like or friends people thinking I'm just doing this to try to make a dollar? It's not even about the money. So the reason why I did this is to share people, let people know that hey, I'm going through this, and there are millions, there's thousands of other people who are probably going, or millions of people going through the same thing that I've gone through, and I'm going to tell you that you can get through it. Do not let anybody, nobody, put a limit on what you can achieve and where you can go.
Mhm.
That's not how this life should be lived.
Well, I totally agree with that. I like how you just explained that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What has motivated you to stay focused on your goal?
Man, I love it when they ask me about that stuff like that. Hey, the main thing the main thing that gets me motivated is knowing that when I wake up in the morning, the person who has 100% control of that is me.
Mhm.
Joe Blow, Sister Doe, Mama Doe, Beyonce Doe don't have nothing to do with it. We all go through, we all have things that happen, what have you. Okay, all right, cool. But I get up every morning knowing that I have control of it, and I'm gonna work diligently to do what those things. I may not know everything on how to get there, but my goal is to make sure what I need to do, set the goals for myself, get up every morning doing, and knowing that if I do what I need to do, I have a high chance being successful, and knowing that won't stop at anything to get to that point. And I'm so happy. Let me shout out to Dr. Cluse for helping put me on this project or the book. Shout out to my other six brothers that's about this book, what have you. I'm number 5, chapter 5 in the book, what have you. But shout out to other six guys, what actually doing that thing and making a difference in them. And so I wanted to make sure that people know that you don't have you can achieve whatever you need to do if you put your mind to it. And I talk about how those things happen and how the game changed for me. And then this book didn't really take a rapid turn for the better, really, until I get to my 30s, my late 30s in here. Now these changes. So don't think like, oh, just because I'm 25, it's too late. No, or I'm 40, it's too late. It's no. It starts now.
And I agree. I totally agree with what you just said about that. If you have the motivation, determination, you can achieve anything you want to do in life.
Yes, sir.
Since you mentioned you had a disability, what do you want people to take away from your story?
Man, that touched my heart, man. When I think about what I've been labeled as or what have you and what I went through, I thank God for what I've gone through because it's living me to be able to tell my story right then and here. But I also want people to not remember what I went through. I don't care about that. I want people to remember this as think about it as, hey, no matter what I've been labeled as or whatever shortcomings have, because none of us are perfect. We all have something, some type of hiccup, whether it's physically, mental, or what have you. So we we use that wherever it is. I just want people to know that, hey, look, no matter what I'm fighting, I can overcome it. Nothing lasts forever, and I can get through it. I can get the proper assistance to get what I need to do. No great teacher. I've worked with many great teachers, and I've all known them to get some type of help. I've seen work with a great principal, and I know them to have great help. I've known people, and with this writing this book, and I know people to get great help. So this notion of this world that we believe in, as in that you shouldn't get no help, help is not needed. It's ridiculous. Great players, even LeBron James gets trained on some of the best trainers to get to be helped. That's called help. You can ask for help, and help is not a word that should be looked as frowned upon. And as black men in the black community, we sometimes you make this thing called as in it's not okay to ask for help, and that's we need to that people to feel uncomfortable by saying that it's okay to ask for help.
Yes, it is okay to ask for help, but some people are afraid to ask for help when they know they really need the help.
Yeah, they definitely do it. And sometimes I even as a teacher, I mean, a real great teacher knows when they know when their students need the help, and when they're able to even assist them. So I have students where I monitor their behavior, and I'll immediately go there to ask for help them before they ask for it. And then sometimes I will wait, and I can see they need the assistance, and I'll wait to see if they're going to ask for it, just because I want them to know that they can ask for me for help, and they can come to me.
Mhm.
But if they don't, eventually I'm going to go over and look and then pull them aside and look, hey, look, I know your mannerisms now. I done picked up on this. I can tell that you're struggling, but I need you to come and ask for me help, and then let you know that this is you sitting there struggling on problem number three for 30 minutes is not okay.
Mhm.
You need to come be able to say this too. So it's reciprocity. It's both. It has to go both ways. You gotta know that you can come to me, and I gotta be over there and try to figure out and know that when you go and help you out too as well. So, because I'm not gonna be able to read both sides, but I want to know. I'm saying all that to say is that we got to get out of this thing of like, man, I'm too big to do over that. I don't care what you gonna say about me or what you look at me. That pretty girl gonna think I'm dumb. Why I gotta ask her for help? Nah, get out of that.
Mhm. I agree with that. What do you enjoy the most about being a teacher and a role model for the next generation?
Man, I got some students that call me dad, Mike.
That's a
That
good
touches my
feeling.
heart. I mean, a good feeling. I don't have to share the money out like the dads do, but that's good. But no, it's just knowing that when kids look in the room, I have kids that are skip the hall, run the hall, don't do go to class, but when they get to me, they be like, "Yes, Mr. Tillman," and they act right. They straighten up and fly right. I've heard about there's a black male teacher syndrome, and it's defined as when a black male teacher walks into a room, the whole room commands commands respect.
Mhm.
And I think that's dope. So I say this to say that the role model that my dad was there for me. My dad has been in my life. My dad is still married to my mom for 40 years. Shout out to them. And he taught me everything I know. I'm not gonna say I'm a mirror image, but I take what I've gotten from him and learned from him to do. And I talk about him in the book too as well, to being the person I am. So I say all of this to say that I use what my parents do. Took a little bit what my mom taught me, how to take care of the family and do things or whatever, and get the education. I taught my work ethic from my dad and use my education, and I use these things to teach my kids, teach life
Mm-hmm.
experience, and I teach them not just what the according to the Texas standards, education standards are, but how we can be applied in real world examples and use that. And my goal, and I'm thankful to know that the kids don't look at me just like as a teacher. They look at me somebody they truly respect and
Mm-hmm.
they can come to a value. So I'm thankful for that. I had one kid in summer school. I was just messing with her. She came with an attitude, and she told me she wasn't having an attitude, but then she had an attitude, and it just made fun of her about having an attitude. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
laughing and joking. And I was like, here, by the end of this week, I was like, by the end of this, you're gonna love me. We're gonna love each other. And so by the last week, we had finished summer school, and she gives me like, she's like, well, are you in my class? Nope, I just came over here to speak to you. And then it's all good. And it was a crack and a joke. So I learned that doing this job, you never take yourself too seriously. Who am I to think like I can't make things or accommodate or tweak a lesson for a kid? Heck, these lessons been going on before I was even coming to this earth. So why this kid is not valued enough to be able to fix and tweak it for them? So I love what I do. I enjoy what I can bring to the table and assist these kids, what have you, because they're our future. And like I needed somebody to help me see the big picture, and that's my job to pass it on too.
And I agree with what you just said about that. In the chapter, you mentioned your education achievements. What have you learned about yourself overall?
So as far as my educational achievements, I don't I think my education achievements had taught me one thing. And they say this is a Virgo thing to it sometime or whatever, but it taught me basically, hey, look, whatever you want to do, Glenn, you can do it. Whatever you have your mind to it, I'm not going to step and say I'm not sitting talking about athletically. I wish I could shoot like Steph Curry and jump high like LeBron James. I'm not referring to that, but as far as mentally and being able to challenge myself to learn and do things, what have you, that I didn't think I could do, and to learn. It taught me not to put limits on myself. It
Mm-hmm.
taught me from when I graduated from high school, one of the top tempers in my class or whatever. And I was like, man, I can do this. And then when I got to college, I was like, Lord, I don't know if I can do this. Let me try to get through it. And got to college and graduated. And then I was like, man, I'm definitely not going to any more school. And then I turned around and get a master's degree within 10 years later. And then, uh, and then I surely thought I was done with that. And then I thought it a little bit afterwards. I'm like, oh, I could possibly do this. And this whole doctorate program, I'm in my educational doctorate in special education leadership. And I've learned that this program has nothing to do with intelligence. I think people get in thinking it's all about like me to be and learn. Yes, you got to learn things and you got to learn concepts. That is very much important because that's what you're learning. But to finish it and getting through it and learn how to and complete it has everything to do with your tenacity and your grit and your never good attitude and to finish it and do what you have to do. So, and that's what people value more. Will and skill. You need will and skill to do a job, but people will value so much more your will than they worry about what your skill is because skill can be taught. Will can't be. You either have
That
it
makes
or you
sense.
don't.
That makes sense, and I agree with that as well. You do, yeah, you can develop a lot of skills, but you got to have the willpower to do
Yep. Just like you got your podcast. You got your podcast, dog.
it. That's definitely true. And I taught myself
Okay.
as well. Very self taught.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
In the beginning of the story, you mentioned you saw the world black and white. Can you elaborate?
Yes. I saw the world black and white because I, at one point in my life, like I always said, even as a kid, I like math. Math was one of my favorite subjects. And the reason why is because I knew that whatever I added or subtract, divide, multiply, it was going to be that number all the time. And so when we got in life and got older, I realized that life is not always black and white. Racism is definitely a key to that. I mean, if you're black, these are the rules you have to follow. If you're white, that's possibly you might get away with those rules and guidelines. And so it helped me. And if you're Hispanic, maybe you can do this, but you can't do this, maybe. So it helped me learn that there's a lot of gray areas in this life, what have you. And it taught me that, hey, look, the one thing that's never gray is your will. You either have it or you don't. You're gonna be willing to do what you need to do to learn it. And more people, regardless, more people are more likely to help you and assist you if you have will. Nobody don't want. I don't know anyone who has really had the joy of trying to help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. And I know people who are generally do that, that generally help them, they don't help themselves. And it's generally a guardian or parent or aunt or relative that has a unconditional love for the person. But in most cases, nobody wants to put up with that crap. So you have to have the will, especially when the skill is so low. And so, yeah, and so that is definitely my thing is definitely that, like, just learning how to do things. For like when I first became a teacher, I realized that in order for me to become a better teacher, especially a special education teacher, I needed to learn the laws. I needed to learn the orders of which an IEP agreement is the plan that's being made, and what are the parameters to help my students, and how can I build relationships with my kid, with my student. And those are the things that are great. And learning that, hey, if you build a relationship, that's where the gray area is. If you have built a relationship with those other teachers, well, there's a chance that those other teachers will more likely be helpful to those kids and go a little bit above and beyond, which is the gray area that people don't want to talk about with this. And so building that relationship with those teachers will allow them, when you come to the room and to talk to the kid, they'll help to advocate for kids. They will be more likely to help because there's a relationship within we feel like there's a partnership with this, what have you. And that's why I strongly advocate for building a relationship with not only my students and their teachers and the parents, so we can be all on one accord and for that child. So yeah, that's one way how I learned that this. I didn't learn it then, but that's another one example how this world can be so gray.
I agree with that. Since you have become a special ed teacher, what do you believe you can offer the current teachers, and what have they learned from you as well?
What they have learned from me? Oh,
Yes.
hey, I always have this thing is that if you're teaching and you're the only or your parent, not even the teacher, if you're a guardian, parent, whatever, and if you a caretaker of a young a kid, if your kid is the only one that's learning from you in that particular relationship, something is wrong. You should be learning just as much as that kid, learning about that kid, learning how their abilities, learning things that they like, don't like, and learning how you can educate your child or student in a more efficient manner. So first of all, let me get that out the way. I definitely it's a partnership here. I'm learning
Hmm.
what ticks you off and what bothers you and what I can say to you in the morning. What can I do to say to you to get you like even if I say your braces look good on you, if that's gonna get you to smile and get your energy up, or
Hmm.
pat you on the back or give you a high five, if that's what's going I got to do to get you in the right place and environment, and then give you some time, back off, and then come in and then ask you a particular question, prompting question, and get to see if you understand something. And if you don't, and I explain it another way to you to get it, then that's what I need to do. So that's my thing. One of the things that I learned as a teacher, and I think that it has helped me so much so, is that when I send an email, I'll do something as simple as say, um, I begin the email by hello, such and such. And then I'll send something in the very first line. I'll say something personal about my relationship with that particular person. For
Hmm.
instance, if Miss Sally just told me about her weekend with her family up in Wisconsin, I'm gonna say, "Oh, tell me about that weekend. About I hope you had a great weekend. How did that weekend in Wisconsin go? Did you get any cheese, or did you get that special type of something to that effect that relates to what you went through?" And then I will then prompt and ask the question about that particular student.
Hmm.
After I ask that question, I end it with, "I appreciate it. Thank you very much." And then I have a good day. So I always end it with something personal, get to the meat of what we need to do, and thank you, and then end it with something that they have already done that was definitely excellent. Like, "Oh, thank you. That was a nice outfit today," or what have you. Something that actually that doesn't cross the line, that is definitely what cheer that person up and show that I appreciate what they're doing, and I don't and I there and recognize that they're a person too as well. And so though I think those things, and I learned that from my counselor, Ms. Woolridge at my school, who's no longer gonna be at our school anymore. But she taught me those
Hmm.
things. And she taught me these things without saying it. It's not like she had a rubric and like, "Glenn, you need to do this. Mr. Tillman, you need to write it like this." But she did it in our interaction, our conversation, everything so much that I mirrored it and used it for them. And I've been using it for 5 years. So, and I think it has worked to my benefit. So as far as the people, what they think me, I don't know what people have learned from me. I guess we gotta ask them though. I would, if I had to guess with people, just learning how like this upbeat spirit and this never never quit, and always looking to find something good to say and find good, and no matter what I'm dealing with, and learning how to put that aside when I walk into those that school halls.
Well, that makes sense. I like how you explain that. And then I like what you said about the email situation. If you do is because when you make the person feel very comfortable, it's easy to have the conversation keep going, and then they respond more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand we live in a day and age where people are very task oriented, where they just, if they send an email, somebody say what time we have this meeting for, instead of saying, "Hello, I got your email. Thank you for everything. The meeting is at 6 o'clock. Thank you. Have a great day." We live in an age where people just put six and don't even put the six colon 00. They put the six in there and hit the send button. And I'm like, all right, that answered the question, but I guess no, I guess there was no fluff there. So okay, voices of black men, people get that.
Most people who have a disability have trouble in college or learning overall. What resources have you used while in college to graduate from college?
Michael. So I didn't mention this earlier, but one of the skills I learned early on in school is that, and even not even in school, just in network. And I think boys are taught this more who are in sports, learn this very innately. They learn this without knowing that they learn this, if I may say.
Mm-hmm.
So we as boys learned, I was grew up in the era, Michael, where you had to just go outside, stay outside until the sun came up. And
Yes.
then when the sun, I mean, sometimes we had to be outside before the sun came up. And then we couldn't come in until the sun going down or the street light came on. So and then by playing, and then we were playing with different guys. And so giving kids, and we learned how to have these social skills to, hey, look, man, this is how we're gonna play. This is the game, this is the rules we're gonna play, this is the team we're gonna be on, and this is who I want on my team. If something's not going well, we learn how to relate to each other and what we can do to strategize together. But you still use these same strategies. You forget that some people forget to use these same strategies in the workplace. Hey, look, man, Johnny, man, I appreciate you with that. Or when I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Or can you help me out with this, man? I understand that you do this very well. Can you help me show me? And you forget to use these type of skills. And so as a kid, I learned how to build relationship with people in the school. Me and my brother went to school from all the way up to 8th grade together.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason why me and my brother didn't have a lot of conflicts with other people or getting too many fights is because I always had a network of friends or whatever that knew of me and knew like, hey, look, I may not do what everything they do. I may not do drugs. I may not do or cut school, whatever, like they are, but they could respect me and knowing that I'm a good kid and I do the right thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
that innately, they use those skills to be able to, and they knew that about me to the point where they knew my brother and look out for my brother. So when my brother went to high school, a different high school as me, those same guys looked out for my brother. So they didn't have any issues, younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I use these same skills as a network with helping with other people and learning that, no, I can help you and this new things, and knowing that Glenn is, is not a type of guy that's not going to stir up any mess or keep up any problems with someone. And so they know they can rely on me helping assist them, whatever, with certain things. So I think that is having good social skills is vital to becoming a productive thing. And that is one of the things that helped me in college, to answer your question.
Mm-hmm.
That we're like, hey, oh, such and such, you know how to, you got the book for that class? Or you study, I know you've been passing that class. What you use to study? How you use
Mm-hmm.
this strategy you use? Those things. Well, they were different programs where have you can use as people I connected with, like social programs that for counseling or for tutoring. But my prime thing that helped me so much was my networking and building a connection and working with other people and knowing that, hey, I need help and I know that you know how to do this and I believe in you that you can help me teach me. And then building those people up like like a coach would. And so using those coach type tactics by saying, hey, I can know you can help me with this and not in a using way, but knowing that I can help you. And if you need anything, you can rely on me to help you too as well. So yeah, that's how I got through college. And my wheel was already up. And then as I learned the stuff a little bit more, my skill got a little bit better. My study skills got better. So then I was able to, do things a little bit solo. But I was never afraid to ask for help.
Well, that's a good thing you wasn't afraid to ask for help. I'm actually the same way because some people are like, well, why you ask that question? The way I look at it is if you're afraid to ask for help, you will never get that answer that you're looking for.
Yeah. I have a quote, one of the quotes I live by, and I have this frame in my house, but it's closed mouths don't get fed, man. I mean, I understand that, yes, we live in a world where that believe in their stupid questions. I do believe that if you listen, that the professor or the teacher or whoever's talking in a conversation, if you listen to them closely and open your ears and
Uh-huh.
listen, you be attentive to what they're saying, you can answer the question before you ask it. Yes, I do believe in that. But if you're attentively and that question was not answered by the statement that person was making before you asked the question, then yes, you can. But a lot of times you can get some of the stuff answered if you just listen attentively and do what is called active listening. And active listening, I mean, people don't realize how helpful that can be in your life. But if you really have active listening skills, that can solve a lot of the issues that you have.
Mhm.
Like Maya Angelou always say, people, when some person tell you who they are, believe them. And she's not always talking about what they're saying verbally, but she's talking about with their actions and how they're showing themselves what they do. And if you're being attentive to watching and listening and watching, then you will understand that person a lot better.
That makes sense. I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. Which goes to my job is about learning. A big part of my job is, I think a lot of people think, oh, you teach math and you teach this. No, a lot of it is about actually learning behaviors and learning how to teach kids with the behaviors that they have. And I'm not talking about like bad behaviors. I'm talking about the mannerisms and how people react and how teachers learn. And if I'm attentive to that, then I can actually teach the job. Like I once heard that one principal asked his assistant principal, had a list of all his teachers' name, and asked that assistant principal to tell them the personality type of each and one of those teachers. Not to just decipher and tell them what person is or what kind of person each one is, but so he can relate and understand that. And in order to, I'm saying all to say, if you know what that person's personality type is and knowing the manners of these people, you can learn how to converse and how to way to come up with conversations and
Mhm.
different things that rubs that person the wrong way, and then how to motivate that person to get to the end goal or the vision or the mission that needs to be met.
Yes. If you were a kid now, how would you handle the social media bullying?
Michael, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. My mom once told me last week, she was like, baby, I'm from New Orleans. Everybody's called baby. Your daddy call you baby, your uncle baby call you baby. And she was like, baby, I don't know. If I had kids this day, I don't know how I would handle it. And I don't know what I would have did if I was then. I
Mhm.
do know that we in an age where everyone is tech savvy, AirPods, every kid has a what they call a block account. What's his blocks? Block,
Mhm.
yeah, block. Got these different Instagram, face, and I'll call my bad. I'm sorry, they don't believe in having Facebook account, Instagram accounts, or Twitter, what have you. And my thing is I would, if I was going through this age, the thing I can see I would definitely think that my parents would have access to all of that stuff. And
Mhm.
if I had some problems with those things, I would talk about, because in the book I talk about a particular bullying incident where my father helped me out with, knew about this kid that was bothering, messing with me, or what have you. And then I talked to him and told him about it. And then we had a situation where my dad forced me to address it. And so I would assume that I would assume, since my parents were heavily involved in my life and everything I did, that they would know about everything that's going on, and I would communicate what the things that are happening. And if I had somebody that was treating me, disrespecting me in such a way, that I would have to go to them and be able to tell them how I handle it. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know. I can't sit up and say I'm like, when I was in school, when I graduated from high school, the internet had just picked up. I mean, in my
Mhm.
freshman year in high school, I learned how to type on a typewriter.
Yeah,
So
I
I
remember
don't
the
even
same
know.
thing.
Yeah. So like, I didn't even have a cell phone until I got to college. So this notion of like having a
Uh-huh.
cell, and then I had a cell phone on dial on cell phone with the different ends. So yeah. So
Mhm.
having these type of things, I don't know how I would handle it, but I do
Mhm.
trust that getting through these type of things, your parents have to heavily be involved. I do believe that kids should not have access to should not be on their phones all day, 24/7 every day. They should, like, for instance, this summer, they should be involved in some type of activity that's going to prepare them. If you're in high school, prepare them for what they want to do in the real world. And using something, for instance, if you're a high school basketball player, you go into a camp in the morning, and then you're going to either be reading a book or being in some type of activity that's going to help stimulate your mind, and and cutting your phones off from it. But there has to be a limit on social media and social and phone usage for these kids.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yes, I like how you said that. Before I go to the next question, I came up with that question because since I know you're a teacher, I thought you might have would have went through something like that. That's why I did that.
Yeah, yeah. I want to actually go through a little bit more, man. Because, like, look at this, Michael. Check this out. This is I always, and then obviously, I'm not a parent yet, but I live in Houston, Texas, great state of Texas, where they believe that it is not okay for a child to graduate from high school
Mhm,
and not have a sense of direction on where they want to go and what they want to do with their life. So I think it's very important that we start having conversations with our kids, as early as 3, 4, 5 years old, trying to figure out what the heck they want to do.
mhm,
Of course, they may change their mind throughout time, what have you. I mean, we all entitled to that.
mhm,
However, as soon as little Michael says he wants to be president of the United States, we should not be saying, no, you can't do that. We
mhm,
should be putting them in probably public speaking school,
mhm,
in classes. We should be putting them in particularly learning about the government. We should be giving flashcards and different tutorials on what the government system is like. We should let them visit their councilmen or the senators, the U.S. representatives, to see what the day in life of job is like. We should making sure they know how to tie a tie or dress properly. All of these things that goes into partner. So when they get to the point of getting in close to middle school and high school, they'll know, hey, my grades need to be up so I can get this scholarship to go to a school where I can learn or become in high school or getting ready to get to college, knowing that, hey, I need to have my grades up so I can get the scholarship to go to a school that's going to help me learn about being the political science or learning how the government works, so that when I become the president, when I become a representative or a senator or a councilman, and then when I'm getting ready to work my way and becoming the governor, I know how the things work, and my whole life has been prepared me to become the president of the United States. Obviously, growth, you can't prepare for growth because growth learn, but there are things that you can learn to help you get to that
mhm,
next step in life. And so we should be training our kids to do all these things early and not just waiting till they get to high school and be like, oh yeah, you want to do this, and then do them through the ringer and then feel like they're not getting, and then when they don't have the support they need, then like what happened to the rest of their life? I
mhm. That makes sense. Oh, you're gonna like this question.
like all the questions, Michael.
Thank you. Do you find it interesting that you have become a special education teacher?
Yeah, 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 man. Like when I was growing up, I talk about this in the book. I wanted to become a reporter. I wanted to be a sports reporter. That's all I wanted to do. I love sports. I knew that my parents are very short. Both my parents are like less shorter than 5'5" or 5'3", 5'5". So like, and I'm a head and shoulders above my parents. And I knew that I wasn't going to be 6 foot tall, and I'm not the fastest person on the block. And so I love my hunger for sports, and was there. And I'll always have to have conversation about my friend Omar. Shout out to my friend Omar Gutierrez in high school. Every morning we argued about the latest debates about school, about what was going on. And oh my gosh, Saints wasn't even in a lot of those debates because they wasn't playing too well. But anyway, but as long I want to say is that I learned that's what I wanted to do, and then I realized, hey, the job and what I couldn't get where I wanted to go, and I run into some obstacles on getting to where I want. I talk about that in the book, and then I realized that, hey, one of my strongest gifts, my gift that God has given me, is the ability to motivate and encourage, to uplift, to be a game changer in a situation, and not just like so. That once I found out that was my gift, and knowing that that gift can be used in the realm of the very much place that I came from,
Hmm.
man, I was sold. I was sold. And I learned that, I talk about that in the book. I learned that being as a para in Cypress Springs High School. And I learned that from our diagnostician, and she was talking about, you know what, you should go ahead and take that special education exam. You're already here learning about stuff. Go ahead and do that, and you'll that also get your foot in the door, and you'll be able to help these kids and do well. Have and that's what I did. I went in and studied for the test and passed. And knowing that I know now, like I'm 5 years in, and I'm a special education teacher. I've been teacher of the year, and knowing that my impact has helped me. So I'm thankful. I have parents that appreciate to call and send me texts and say thankful for everything I've done. And the students, like I said, that called me dad, and someone called me uncle, and appreciate what I've done for them. So I never would have thought 20 years ago, nah, I wouldn't have thought this happened. 10 years ago, 10 years ago, nah, I wouldn't have thought that either, even then. So I'm happy I made that decision. I made that change, and here I am. Here I am, baby.
So really, what you notice is, because I know when we was in college, that's where I met you from, that you was in journalism. You had a journalism degree, which I know you enjoyed. But now you switch careers later in life. So now it's like to a point like you think you found your purpose, which is a teacher, correct?
Yeah, I do. But I also think the skill that I've learned in journalism, has helped translate to this. What have you? Learning how to speak with to people, learning how to build relationships, to do stories on folks, to how learned how to create my emails, to be able to communicate effectively, and build camaraderie with different projects or what have you, and actually knowing that, of course, I got to build relationship, but I also have the skill to know the skill to do the job. So those things in itself created a foundation for me to know that, hey, it's good to build a relationship with a kid, but I still got to be able to learn how to teach this kid how to learn how to do
Mhm.
this particular skill, how to solve this math problem, how to break it down, and how to look at it. And so, yes. Um, and I learned a little bit about storytelling, and I think storytelling is one of my gifts too as well. My
Mhm.
dad would always use it. I'm gonna go back to him, using parables. He used to like, so my dad, before he whooped me, he would always tell me, hey, look, this is why I'm going to whoop you. And this is why why this is gonna hurt me more than I hurt you. Still don't understand that one.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
understand more now what he's saying. And then he'll explain it first. He explain a parable and give me, how it applies to the real world. And then he'll go into whooping me and go ahead. And by the time he finished talking, I knew exactly why I was being whooped. So I'm saying all this to say is that I use parables and different things to help more than one way to explain the topic and understand, so the kid can actually understand where we are and where we're coming from. And I think that's the big thing about being able to help, and knowing that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so you
Mhm.
got to find more ways to help and enrich our kids. And that's one of the things we talk about in the book in the general is there's no way to be a man. There's many different ways that we can be, show your manhood and assist your kid and being a father figure. And it's not just about bringing home the bacon,
Mhm.
and protecting your kids and your family.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. How has your past experience helped you to become the person you are today?
Man, there's one particular example, one thing I talk about in a book, and my marriage marriage didn't go as I actually planned. And one thing I've learned, I used to get mad and thought it was all about the other person, and I realized, hey, look, Glenn, you're centered your life around this other person and doing how you doing, but this is time for you to actually take responsibility for what your actions and do what you need to do. And so your job is to not only get out, use this as a second chance of life, and go after what you so desire. And so that obstacle was a turning point in my life and allowed me to get me to say, hey, look, I'm not taking no excuses and I'm going to do what I need to do. And I'm not going for a B grade. I'm going for the ultimate prize, the A, what I actually want. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so that was the game changer for me there. It felt like,
That makes
and I would say this, Mike, it felt like
mhm,
people say, like it felt like a death sentence at one point. It felt like somebody
mhm,
told me that, and it was spiritual. It was a spiritual death because, I mean, when you look up the word divorce, it means death, and so
mhm,
I didn't want something I didn't want, and I sometimes I'm gonna say something that's real. Like the old Glenn, I'm a loyal person. I'm very into what I'm in, and I'm in it to the end, and I didn't want to put it in, but I really found out that like, hey, I learned just in life. If I didn't, will we see the Glenn Tillman of today? Will we be
mhm.
talking about the author and bestselling Amazon bestseller author today? Probably not. And that's sometimes that tears me up thinking about that because that had to take place for me to get to where I'm at now. So gotta be thankful for what you went through.
That makes a lot of sense. You went through something bad, but overall, something came out positive through the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm not advocating for divorce, and I'm not advocating to be like, oh, you need to do this and you should be. I want people to have a relationship, but I do know that some of them just don't go where it needs to be go, where it needs to be, and so you have to do what you need to do to get where you need to be.
That's correct. What advice could you give someone that wants to become a teacher?
Michael, that word begins with P. It's not Pusha P. It's not the artist and nothing like that. It starts with patience. It's patience. If you patience and learning how to look at someone and knowing that they may some kids will never ever get you will understand your concept, and you
Mhm,
have to be okay with that. There's some kids that are going to learn exactly what you're done to do on the first try. Boom. Some kids you may teach you on the second try. Boom. Some kids may get it on the third try. But you have to know that there's going to be some kids that are never ever going to get your concept, and it's okay. It's not you, but it's just okay. But you have to be patient to be willingness to be able to help all of them, and knowing that it's going to be there for every child. And then two, number one, patience, but two, be yourself.
mhm,
Every kid, one of the things that I don't know what it is about kids in general, but kids know when you're not telling the truth or not being true to yourself. Kids know when you're being fake, and they rather be around someone who is a big butthole
hmm,
to them, and knowing that they being a big butthole and being a true really, and that's being them being true to themselves and being a butthole to you, and they will respect that much more than they know somebody who's trying to act out a character to be a butthole to them.
mhm.
And so I'm not saying be a butthole, but if you're gonna be a butthole, be that's let that butthole be already being instilled into you. So be yourself and have patience with these kids, and then up your skill, and you'll be all right.
Yes, it does take patience to be a teacher, especially these days, all the stuff that's going on right now in the world.
Yeah, yeah, because we taught like this. We taught in the old days. It's all about You teach a thing, and if a kid is not doing what they're supposed to do, then it's all about, oh, that kid has a problem, that kid has an issue, so the kid need to address the issue and not you addressing it. And now it's very important that we learn that we need to teach the whole kid, and that's what this book is about. This book is about knowing that it is not okay. It is not okay to be just the father and just taking care of bills. I talk about a story in my book, in my chapter, where my dad takes me to go to the dentist, and because I got my tooth got chipped or whatever. I was playing basketball and doing not my tooth.
Yes.
I was in high school, and we get the ride all the way to the dentist, and my tooth is hurt, and they're doing emergency surgery and they're fixing. And my dad tells me, I remember this like just yesterday. He tells me, Glenn, I am so proud of you, the way you're handling this, what have you, this pain in your mouth. I'm so proud of you. I cried, not because of the pain that I was going through. It was painful, don't get me wrong. But the pain that touched my heart was knowing that my dad told me he proud of me, the way I handled that. That made me cry.
Yes.
And I was able to, I went on to heal my tooth straight. But at the same token, we need to show that, hey, look, it's okay to say I love you. It's okay to give your son a pat on the back. It's okay to let them know that, hey, they're wrong. But then again, at the same token, at the end of the class, hey, I'm still here for you. And knowing that, and that's what kids need.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. I really do.
Yeah, Michael. I come from a family where my dad will whoop me in the morning at noon, and then by 6 o'clock he come up and pat me on the butt and pat me on, rub my head like nothing did happen. Like, Negro, you just whooped me. Leave me alone.
Yeah,
Didn't
I remember.
understand that as a kid, but then now I totally get it. It makes perfect sense. It's
Mm-hmm.
called unconditional love. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't love you enough to tell you from right or wrong, I don't know what love is then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I remember those days as well. So I have done
It
some
sounds like
crazy
we got
stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like we got our parents came from the same tree.
Yeah, I was whooped, and of course, and so I remember one time, since you mentioned about your dad do something. I remember one time. Now I didn't try this. I was going to church, and I actually said a curse word before going to church, and my dad grabbed me by my neck.
He just grabbed you and just looked at you, huh? And
Yeah,
he
he
just
did.
knew, like, that's interesting. That's when you know when looks was a stern look changed the game with every. And I have that too. What have you? I just look at them sometimes and the kids know what I'm saying. My mom had this thing where, like, I can look at her and just say. So one time I was in church, and we was in church, what have you, Michael, and
Mhm.
I was I did something. I said, like, "Oh Lord, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this or whatever." And my mom would made me go to the church, and we had this big tree right by
Mhm.
the church door, what have you. And my mom said, "Go ahead and go get a switch."
Mhm.
So I was like, "Cool." I'm about to. I already knew, had in my car, had in mind what switch I was gonna get, the little small one, and I brought it back to her, and she was like, "Oh, you think you slick, huh?" Woman, when my mom is still to today, I'm about 5 inches taller than my mom. My mom went back and got that switch. By then we were close to the same height. But by then she went to go get that switch and whoop my tail. And then I had to go back in the church. And then she gonna tell me to hush my mouth. Whoop my tail up and then telling me to shut up before I give you something else to cry for. I'm like, you just whooped me and gave me something to cry for. Why you gonna tell me that? Yeah, man. But those are the things that I'm appreciative. I only got maybe a whooping, maybe a hand, a hand, maybe two handfuls to the times or whatever my whole childhood. But
Mhm.
I remember those things because those things made me put the fear of respect for my parents and made me
Mhm.
appreciate them for who they are. And so for that, I'm definitely thankful for.
I can agree with that as well. I'm
Yeah.
grateful for what my parents has done for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's called like love, love, love. And you gotta show it in different ways. Love does not mean, oh, I give you what you want. Love does not simply means that I'm gonna make sure you have food on your table every night. Love also means I'm gonna check you when you're wrong, and I'm gonna tell you how to show you the correct way on doing that. And we simply we need to forget about that particular those things on how to do that. So
Hmm.
I think those are very, very, very important that we show love, the full spectrum of what that is. That's what to look like.
Yes. In the chapter, you mentioned you was inspired by the Men of Honor group at Cypress Springs High School from the assistant principal. What do you believe you can offer young men in your group called Men of the Missions? What?
Yep. Yeah, so some men of honor. And so men on a mission, I work with shout out to man who gave me this our assistant principal there, and he gave me an honor, gave me an opportunity to help mentor with him. His name is Mr. Clay Smith. Love him to death,
Mhm.
and he passed away this past year. And
Oh,
so
sorry to hear that.
he gave me the opportunity to help and assist with the kids and being able to show them life skills through tying ties. When I cook ribs, we did that a little bit. I have life lessons and even the importance of learning how to forgive. And I will have to say this too, as well. Like we learned, even learning, like I was even at that time, I was still fighting forgiveness in my heart with my ex-wife, and even helped me how to deal with that and change that in my heart and whatever, and going to God to help me through that. So yeah, shout out to him. And then when I got to T King High School, which I'm at now, there I started the group called Men on a Mission, and where I go is to basically assist students and with those same type of skills, with learning how to be a man of integrity, learning how to tie a tie, learning how to walk with class, and learn how to show class without even saying a word. And so those are the things that we continue to work on.
So, since you started this men's group, young men's group, so what have some of the guys appreciate since you started this here? I know they really appreciate what you have done so far.
Yeah, so we're still up and growing and learning. We started doing like that right before the COVID era,
Hmm.
and so we've been working on with kids and just work on just in how to cope with different skills, with social skills, and how to be able to assist and how to others, and how to talk to people, and how to talk to their parents, and how to communicate with people who don't see the same light as them. And so I think that has been the biggest thing.
Well, that's good. Well, I know they appreciate all that you have came up with for your organization.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. What lessons have you learned being a basketball coach to the youth, and what have they learned from you?
Man, I will say this. Sometimes, Michael, when you mention that, what they learn from me, I would think what I hope they learn, and then I sometimes think what I instill. So I would say for what I've learned and what I appreciate from them is from coaching. I've coached basketball in Illinois, I coached basketball in Arizona high school, and here in Texas. And one of the things that there's a common denominator in all three states: good players want to get better. Good players want to learn how to do better.
Mhm.
And one thing that is different from here in Texas, when I coach girls, girls are different, man. You got to learn how to use the skills and way how to learn using how you say things to them, as opposed to how they still want to be coached, but you have to learn how to communicate a little bit differently to get the results that you want. And the one thing I know that they have drawn from me is me being consistent with them
Mm-hmm.
and knowing how to communicate effectively and get them to do what I need to do. And so I have one player, I won't say any name, but definitely she was growing through just being a player, and and it's COVID and going through all of these different things, and and then when I would no longer was coaching anymore, she always came up to me and gave me a fist bump and gave me a hug and let me know that I'm bigger than just a coach to her. I'm someone she truly appreciate. And sometimes I think we appreciate something when we there, but when we realize that we don't have that anymore, it makes
Mm-hmm.
us really, really relish or be thankful for what we have. And so yeah, I think those players enjoy the relationship I was able to build and the concepts, and knowing that I'm going to give them what they need, but I'm also going to do it in a respectful way. And I think a lot of time, as some coaches believe, like, hey, you can get your point across and you got to yell and demean and
Mm-hmm.
talk the kid down. And that's not necessarily the case. Of course, I believe you have to yell. Sometimes you have to yell to get your point, and some things you have to do to drive the point home. But for the most case, most part, you should be able to communicate effectively in a tone just I'm using now, to be able to teach what you need to get done, to what it needs to be, and they should be able to receive it. And if it has to be all of that yelling and screaming all the time like that, they're not they didn't get it the first time. So
That makes sense. Because one thing
yeah.
about sports, a lot of people rely on sports and look up to sports. So you have a good coach that can help you along the way. Everything is good.
Yeah. And like especially in high school, the coaches and a lot of sports, the coaches have on the cases, the sports have more pulling power on a student to get them to turn around and do what more than a teacher, and in some cases more than an administrator, to get them to what, because they see them and they build a relationship with this kid and they with the kid every day. And then if you're in Texas sports during a season, you're practically seeing these kids practically at least 5 to 6 days a week.
Hmm.
So this kid is definitely knows about what's going on, knowing your philosophy and knowing that you're not going to tolerate certain things, and they're going to either pull it together or move on. So that's why many a times when the school kid is not passing, that teacher would let the coach know, and the coach would have a conversation or do what he needs to do to get that kid, especially if that kid know if they know the kid knows and the coach knows that they have a potential to play, go to college and get a scholarship.
Yes, I agree with that. Now we have came to the last question. In the chapter, you have a lot of inspiring words that have motivated you to accomplish anything. So, what advice can you give someone who struggles with any disability?
Michael, I'm gonna tell it like this, man.
Mhm.
There's there's a song by Lil Wayne. He used that at the song. The hook says, "And it all worked out, and it all worked out, and it all worked out." So all the stuff that you're going through and then you're fighting through and you're trying to get learn what to do. If you do what you're supposed to do, put your will and use the skill that you've been taught to use and have the right support system, everything will work itself out.
Mhm.
Don't worry about too much, worry about the actual results. Yes, we're driven by results business, but it's all about the process. Right now, it's the summer where NFL teams and different, not even just NFL, like high school teams and college and some college teams, they're practicing and they're training their body and they preparing their mind and body to be ready when the season comes, to be ready to perform at a peak level. And that is what this is a time where preparation goes into place. So I am saying do your preparation, work hard, train. It's about the process on what you're getting. And if you do that right, then the time of you reaping your reward will come. God works everything in his own little way, and everything will work itself out in due time. I won't get caught. I shouldn't for you. I wouldn't get caught up in the how it's going to happen, but know that everything is going to happen in due time. There's too many jobs in this world for you to worry about. If there's a job for you, there's too many ways to make money. They're not like that. So there's enough money out this world for you and you and you and you and you and you and you. It's John Doe in North Carolina, John Doe in Southern California, John Doe in Maine and Costa Rica or Japan or Australia or even Ethiopia to be able to make and do, to be able to live off and do well for you to worry about them. So just worry about getting yourself in the proper space to do what you need to do to achieve your goals and aspirations. And
Well,
I will say this,
well,
I will say, let me say this last thing. We do live in a racist society. Racism is still existent. I definitely believe that.
mhm.
However, this is 2022, and there are a lot of programs and a lot of things that are offered to our youth and adults with that can prepare you to get to doing the things that you want to do. It is up to you, the individual, to go out there and redo the research and figure out what those programs are and get involved with it to be able to make it happen. Gone are the excuses. There's no such thing should be an excuse for you not to do it and not blame others for what you have not accomplished.
Well, I agree with that. If you have the willpower and determination, anything's possible. And you also have to find the resources that can help you along the way as well.
Yeah, yeah. And let me add this, Michael. And I'm not sitting up and saying by all means, and I'm not gonna. It's like I know people keep hearing me say will and skill. Yes, that's very important. But you also need I want to add, you need a support system to help you go through this. Life is not meant to be lived alone. I talked to one of my close friends today, and he just told me that two of his friends that he just real close to, passed away
Hmm.
this week, and it was playing a really mental breakdown on him. And he was mentioning to me that, hey, look, one of them it died through suicide, and then he
Hmm.
talked to him last week saying everything was okay, and then knowing that this happened recently, and so we need to be okay to know that it's not okay to be okay. You got to be open to sharing this. Mental health is real. You and I are not an island. Martin Luther
Hmm.
King said it best. In order, we need to be able to, how did he say it? Basically, what he was saying is we need to learn together or we're going to die together as fools. So we
Hmm.
need to learn how to do work together and live together. You are responsible. In order for this success for us to be in this world to work, you and I have to be responsible for one another. I'm just as responsible as your success as you are for mine. Maybe not in like literal terms as in working toward either, but if we're about helping each other and doing what we need to do, we should definitely be holding each other accountable to where we go. Some philosophers believe that if you do what you're supposed to do and I do what I'm supposed to do, then the world will happen. But that's not the way life is. We all need each other to help it. It is not good for man to live alone. And I'm not literally talking about a wife, and I'm not talking about living in a house alone. I'm living talking about having social interactions with people and working together with people on different causes. And when they don't feel like they need the help, they can be able to get the help they need when they feel like they need it, and that is okay.
Hmm. That is definitely true. Well, Glenn, we have came to the end of this interview. Before we go, can you let everyone know how they can contact you? And also, can you tell them how to get information about this book, Voices of Black Men, a collection of stories, untold, raw, and unfiltered?
Yes, my name is Glenn Tillman. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Glenn, Glenn dot Tillman. Tillman Jr. You can find me there. You can find me on LinkedIn as well as Twitter, Glenn Tillman Jr. There, Tillman Jr. 1 on Twitter. And I'm there. And you can get the book, message me on Facebook with your address, and you can actually send the money to my Cash App. My Cash App is the dollar sign, obviously, teach, capital teach, TEACHGT, teach GT. The $20 for the book, and I can definitely get it out to you with your address. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate this platform and opportunity to tell about the voices of Black men in the book.
You're welcome. And another thing I would like to also mention, I like how you say they can get a personal copy from you. But if they're unable to get a personal copy from you, where else can they get the book from?
Good. We are available on Amazon. You can actually get the actual copy. There's a Kindle version of the copy there, and you can get the digital version of that if you're a paperless type person. So you can get that there as well on Amazon.com. Voices of Black Men. 7 authors, 7 Black men telling their raw, unscripted story about things that went on in their life. There's several different stories where a couple of guys, they talk about things that they're nearly the same thing, but they live in 2 different regions of the country, and they're nearly the same age. So imagine you going through something somebody else is going through, and y'all don't know each other, but y'all going through the same exact thing. Crazy. That's what we talk about that in the book. And a matter of fact, these guys just became cool with each other when we wrote the book.
That's really
Didn't know
interesting.
about each other's stories until we did the manuscript. The manuscript, oh man, you going through the same thing I'm going through? Word? What? Didn't know until after we wrote we with the copy, and we at the manuscript and looking at it like, oh, such and such, Maurice is going through this. Oh man, oh, William is going through this. Wow. So yeah, crazy.
That's one thing I did find really interesting. It's 7 Black men, the stories basically, but they all different in every way. I noticed that. And I really do find this book really interesting. And when I started reading like first chapter, I was surprised like this person say, "Oh, I had like a bad life at first, but the difference of it is he turned things around and now he's a successful Black man."
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And we all define this world has this way of looking at you look at Instagram, or it has this thing of like, if you don't have money that's stacked up to the ceiling this high, you're not really doing well. Or if you're not walking to a private jet every weekend to go where you want to go, you're not really success is not defined. No one person should define what success is to you. You know what it is. Go do what you want to do and be good at it.
Well, I like how you just said that. And once again, Glenn Tillman Jr., thank you for being a part of Consulting Between Friends podcast.
And it'll all work out. Thank you.
Thank you. After a short break, we will return. We are back. In closing, I hope the listeners enjoyed the episode and the information discussed it. This episode was an interview with an amazing and successful person named Glenn Tillman Jr. about his accomplishments and challenges. I am glad I had the opportunity to interview him and learn what motivates him to conquer anything in life. Also, I enjoyed my autographed copy of the book as well. The book, Voices of Black Men, has other powerful stories that I know will relate to anyone. So if you have a chance to support Glenn and the other 6 men, it will be very appreciated. One last thing, remember to support Black business owners and never give up when life gets tough. Thank you for listening to Consulting Between Friends. This podcast is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, as well other platforms that are available. So like and subscribe. Need to contact us and leave us a comment? You can find us on Instagram at consulting the letter B friends. Once again, consulting B friends. An email address is consulting the letter B friends at gmail.com. Once again, consulting B friends at gmail.com. Consulting Between Friends now has a merch online store called Podcast Merch Headquarters. This is where you can buy merch to show your support for the podcast. Some items to choose from are t-shirts, tumblers, and hoodies, as well many other things I know you will appreciate. So take the time to review the items in the store. The link will be available in the podcast notes under Podcast Merch Headquarters. Consulting Between Friends now has a way for listeners to share their feedback about the podcast. The listeners can now share their feedback on Discord. The link will be available in the podcast notes and on the podcast website. Consulting Between Friends. Thanks to everyone for making this possible. The host, Michael Holmes Jr., the producer and content creator, Michael Holmes Jr., the artwork cover, Michael Holmes Jr., original music, a DJ named Slash, special guest, Glenn Tillman Jr., special education teacher and author. Book, Voices of Black Men, a collection of stories, untold, raw, and unfiltered. Content distributor, My Producer Podcasts. The Consulting Between Friends podcast will resume in 3 weeks.